Hi, thanks for joining today's CAD lesson. In today's exercise, we would model an aircraft. And so in this exercise, we would model the main body, the wings, the vertical stabilizer, as well as the horizontal stabilizer. Please consider subscribing if you're yet to do that and be part of the CAD family. Also do well to like this video if you get some value out of it. You can also share this with your CAD friends. Let's go ahead and begin with today's exercise. We have Autodesk Inventor opened. Let's get a worksheet to begin to create this model. And to new up here, let's use a standard millimeter IPT template. We will be working in millimeters. And so we select that under the part create 2D and 3D object and create. Straight away, let's save this even though we've not done anything. And so save up here. You can save it in any folder of your choice. I'll call this the aircraft. Let's do part 1 and save. Now we begin with a 2D profile, and so we select that option up here and create the sketch on the XY plane. Now let's pan to the left. We will pick the rectangle command. Let's draw a rectangle here. This matches fine, and so we'll leave it. Pick the dimension command and specify the distance between this corner right here of the rectangle and the origin as 10,000. Okay, that takes our work off focus, so double click the scroll mouse button to get the work in focus. Now let's look for that little rectangle we have drawn. Okay, so there it is. We would also specify the width of this as 37,000, and then for the height that is going to be 6,500. Okay, you can use the scroll mouse button, just double click. You get your work in focus. Now let's specify another dimension between this corner right here and the origin. Okay, there it is here as 2,500. Let's enter that. Our sketch is fully constrained. We'll pick the line command. Let's connect the middle of this line here of the rectangle to the middle point of the opposite line. You can right click and then OK. Now we can finish this sketch. Double click the scroll mouse button to get your work in focus. We would revolve this part of the profile. The axis we want to revolve around is going to be, let's select that first, this very axis. The preview is fine, and so we OK. Now let's work with one of the default planes, and so we look for that under the origin. We are going to work with the XY plane. We'll click on that and choose the create sketch option. Let me pan to the left. Now let's choose the option /graphics so we see the plane. Let's project some lines, and so project geometry command. We would project this very line. Let's pick the line command and draw a line from this point, making sure it's coincident with that line we just projected. The length of this line is 7,500, so we'll enter that. You can right click and then OK. Now these two lines, let me select this very one and that. Let's make them constructional lines. We would also dimension the distance between this point and the point right here as 3,000. Let's pick the line command. Let's draw a line from the point where the constructional line ended. Let's keep it here. You can right click and then OK. For this very line, let's make it constructional and dimension it. And so the length of this is 1,750. Let's enter that. Now we'll pick the arc command. Let's connect this point here and that point with an arc. Also, this point here to the corner of that rectangle. You can right click and OK, and then we would dimension. And so this arc is of radius 9785.714. Okay, and for the other one, it is 25 1000. Now we can finish this sketch and introduce a plane. And so let's click on the plane option here. We want the plane to be perpendicular to the YZ plane, but then also define it by this very point where we begin drawing our arc. Okay, so now let's select that plane we just introduced and we would create a sketch on it. Let me get a better view. Okay, this match is fine. And so I'm going to project some points onto the plane, which is going to be this very point and that point. You can right click and OK. Now we can create a sketch. So let's turn this around. Okay, until it faces us this way. Now let's pick the circle command. Let me zoom in a little. You can place your circle right here. The diameter of this is 1750. And let's apply the coincident relationship between that circle and the origin. Okay, now we would also apply a vertical relationship between the center of that circle and the origin to fully define it. And we would finish the sketch. Let's turn this around. Okay, this way is better for a good view. Now we would loft, and so the loft command here. Let's select this first face with this very one, but then we would rail, and so let's click on add rail. Let me turn this also to the front side. Awesome. Now let's select this very line, arc I mean, and then also that one, and now we can okay. Now let's turn off the visibility of that plane and introduce another plane, which is going to be the XY plane. Let's create a sketch on that plane. Let me get my work in good view. Let's slice to see the plane. Let's pick the line command. Let's locate the middle point of this line. Let me zoom in. Okay, so there we go. The length of this line is 1000. Right click and then okay. Now we pick the arc command. Let's connect this point to this very one. And we give that a radius of 1500. And enter that our sketch is fully constrained until we can finish this, and we would revolve. So the profile has been correctly selected. The axis we want to revolve around is going to be this very one, and okay. Now on the XY plane, let's create another sketch. We would slice this so we can see the plane. Let's turn on the visibility of the first sketch we did for the revolution. So this very one, right click and then we turn on the visibility. Now we'll pan to the left. Let's pick the point and put a point somewhere here is fine. We will dimension the distance between this line and the point we just placed is 16700. And then would apply a horizontal constraint between this corner and the point. Now pick the line command. Let's draw a line from this point. The length of this is 8350. And then we would also continue here by making sure that where this line ends lies on the same vertical line as this point. So let's pick the reference from that point. Okay, we'll leave it here. You can right click and okay. Now we would dimension the distance between this point and this horizontal line as 1000. And then also apply a fillet. The fillet radius is 1000 as well to this line and this very line. Let's close this. Next, we'll pick the line command. Let's draw a line from this point to a length of 1200. Right click, let's restart, and then we will connect this corner to this very point. Let's get off the command. Now for this line, let's make it a constructional line. Let's apply some more dimensions to fully define this sketch. And so an angle between these two, let's just go with whatever we get. and that fully constrains the sketch. Now for this line also, let's make it constructional and we can finish this sketch. We would introduce another plane now, and so let's introduce a plane but make it parallel to one of the default planes, which is going to be the YZ plane, but give it a reference to be at this point. Now we'll select this plane and create a sketch on it. Let me pan down. Before we even create our sketch, let me go back and get this view. Let's turn this around. We would project some point onto the plane, and so this point here and that point, and now we can create our sketch. Okay, so we pick the circle command and draw a circle here. The diameter of this circle is 1200. And draw a circle here. The diameter of this circle is 1200. We'll enter that and apply a coincident relationship between the circle and the origin. We would also align vertically the center of that circle and the origin. Now we can finish this sketch. Now we pick the loft command. Let's select first profile, which is going to be this one. We want to loft it to that, but then we would also add some rails. So let's turn this around so we get a good selection of those ones. We'll select this and then that line as well, and we can press OK. Now let's see. We can turn off the visibility of this and then even turn off the visibility of some of these sketches. So let's look for them here in the work tree. Okay, there it is. We turn off visibility. Next, we'll introduce another plane. And so let's look for a plane to work on. It's going to be the XZ plane, but we want it to be an offset from that to a distance of 5,000. And let's check that. Let's see how that looks. Okay, now select this plane and create a sketch on it. But let's turn this around. Okay, this way is fine. Would also turn it towards the bottom side, making sure you can read the bottom from the left to the right, but upside down. Now we would slice. Let me zoom in and project some lines. The lines are going to be this very one and then that one. Now we'll pick the line command. Let's place a line here and dimension the distance between the line we just projected and the one we just drew as 15,000. We'll pick the line command. Let me pan down from this point. Let's slant this to a distance of 30,000. And then we would also dimension, put an angle between this line and the projected line. Angle is 55. We'll pick the line command again. Let's draw another slanted line from this point to a distance of 3,000. And we would also put an angle between these two lines. The angle is 160. Okay, now the line command again, we'll draw a horizontal line from this point here to a distance of 2,000. Let's slant that down and leave it here. You can right click and then OK. Let me zoom in and apply a horizontal constraint between this point and where the line ended. And then also dimension the distance between this point and this point one here as 3,000. Okay, let's zoom in. Now we'll pick the line command again, zoom in some more. From this very line, we'll draw a vertical line to the length of 7,500. And then we will dimension the distance between this vertical line and the line we just drew as 15,000. And then with the line command again, connect this point to, let me zoom in, that very point. Now let's put an angle to fully constrain the sketch. And so dimension, let's do this line and that line and go with whatever dimension we are getting. Check that. Now we'll pick the line command. Let's close this up. We can extrude now into 3D command extrude option. Let me turn this around. We want to extrude this entire profile. The distance is going to be 2500. Let's flip the direction around. Let me see how that is looking. Okay, okay. Now let's turn off the visibility of this work plane and let's get this towards, no, let's do, okay, let's zoom in a little. Now let's select this face, not this one, I mean this face, and create a sketch on it. But we would also project that very face. Now we'll pick the line command. Let's draw a line here, not at the midpoint, a little bit away from it, all the way to the opposite side or the opposite edge here. And then we would dimension, and so the distance between this point and that point is 250. And for the opposite side, between this very point and that point is 1325. Let's pick the rectangle command and draw a rectangle across this face, making sure you pick those 2 points at the corners. Now we can right click and OK. 3D extrude. We want to extrude this very part. Let me get a good view of this. Okay, but the boolean is going to be a cut. I will define that cut with this arrow, this very one. So just touch on it and drag it all the way across this wing, and then we can OK. Now on this face, we want to create a sketch. Let me turn this around. This way is fine. I'll zoom in a little. Now we want to project this very face and also offset that profile to a distance of 1000. Now we want to delete some lines, and so let's pick those lines. This very one we'll delete, also this, that as well, and then let's slice along that face. What we want to do next is to apply a coincident relationship between this point and this very line. We'll pick the line command. Let's draw a line from this point to this line as well, and then trim off the excess we see here. Let's apply some dimensions to fully constrain this sketch. And so dimension to this line. Let's go with whatever dimension we are getting, and so check that. The length of this line, let's go with whatever dimension we get, also that. And then between this point and this point, okay, the sketch is fully constrained. So we'll finish this sketch and let's extrude that. It's going to be this profile right here. It's going to be a cut, but the distance of that cut is going to be 250. The direction is right, the preview is good, and so we okay. Let's see. Let me get the isometric view. Now on the XY plane also we want to create a sketch. Let's slice. Now we'll pick the line command. Let's draw a line here, a horizontal one. Let's dimension, and so the length of this line is 9000. And then also the distance between this point and this edge here is 4250. Let's project this line so we can apply another dimension which is between this line and the line we just projected as 750. Now we pick the line command. Let's draw a line from here. The length of this is 15,000. We'll draw a horizontal line as well to a length of 2,500 and connect that to this point. Now let's dimension. The angle between this line and this very one is 45. We can finish this sketch and extrude. The profile is going to be this one. It has been selected, but the direction will be symmetric. The distance also 500 and okay. Next, we would apply a chamfer, and so the chamfer command, but then we would choose the last option here that says two distances. And for the distance 1, we would keep it at 2000. For the distance 2, we'll keep it at 250. And we are left to select the edge. So we'll select this edge. The preview of that is okay. Let's apply. We'll do same also for the opposite edge and apply. Now we can close this. Let's see what we've done. Okay, let me get the isometric view. Okay, so now let's introduce another plane, but an offsetted one. And so offset from plane, let's choose the XZ plane and to a distance of, let's do 7625.25, and we check that. Now let me select this plane and create a sketch on it. Let's slice graphics. Now we'll pick the line command. Let's draw a line here and dimension. The length of this line is 9,000. Okay, our line is missing. Let's just drag it in place, but first of all, get off the dimension command. So drag it here and continue dimensioning. The distance between this point and this vertical line is 3,000. Let's also project this face is okay, and we would dimension between this line and this very point here also as 3,000. Now we can pick the line command. Let me pan down to the left. Now from this point here, let's draw a slanted line to the length of 15,000. Draw a horizontal line also 2,500, and we would close that up with this point. Now we would dimension again, so the angle between these two lines is 45. Let's finish this sketch, and we want to extrude. Let me turn this around so we get a good view. This very profile, but we want to extrude downwards to a distance of 500, and we can OK. Let's turn off the visibility of this plane. Okay. Let's apply same chamfer like we did for this vertical stabilizer to this horizontal one. And so the chamfer is going to be the two distances. The distance 1, 2,000, distance 2, 250. The edge is going to be this one. Let's apply. And then also to the opposite edge, we can apply and close this for now. Now let's mirror some parts into the mirror command. The features we want to mirror are going to be this extrusion 1. Hold down the shift key and select extrusion 3. We would select anything in between. For the mirror plane, let's see the XY plane. The preview of that is here. We can OK. We'll do same for the horizontal stabilizer as well into the mirror command again. The features to mirror are going to be the extrusion 5. Hold down Control key. Let's select the chamfer 3 and 4 as well. For the mirror plane is going to be the XY plane, and we can OK. Let's turn this around so we can apply a fillet. And so the fillet command, the fillet radius is 1000. We want to apply it to this edge and that edge, and OK. Now let's inspect what we've done so far. Please consider subscribing. Also do well to like this video and share this with your CAD friends. Don't forget to save this. I'll see you soon with the next tutorial. Bye.